Welcome back, everybody, to another system overview video. Today, we will be going over the new system version 1.03. Yes, it's very cool, very cool. This video was only brought out because people in my Discord server, which you should really wanted one. So here we are. It's going to be another short one. Not going to be anything crazy. I'll just be going over what has been changed, anything updated, as well as anything that's been added. So without further ado, let's get started. Firstly, I added some lore about my campaign for other people to use if they don't want to make up everything themselves. So my three major clans are the Ando clan, Tama clan, Saito clan. To quickly go over what each clan is about. Ando clan is strength above all, survival of the fittest. They're a little bit more honor bound than just, monsters, but they are very ruthless to say the least. The Otama clan, these guys are the peacekeepers. They have basically tied everything together and are the only reason, in some cases, some would say, that Jujutsu Society functions the way it does is because of these guys. And the Saito clan, the smartest, the best technique users out of the three, the snakes of Jujutsu Society, some would say. These guys are also very important, and they often clash with the Ando clan. Two sides of the same coin. Anyways, the last guys, the Miyamotos, they aren't a major clan, but they're still important. They used to be a lot more powerful than they are now, like the Inumake clan from the original series. However, through some means, they fell down to where they are now, but they are still often called upon for their sorcerers, as well as their diplomatic prowess. For the major factions, not clans, that is the IEJ. This is the kind of multilateral governmental agency that works with both sorcerers and politicians. This is where all the sweet tax dollars go to fund exorcists. These guys are probably the most important faction. I'll go over down here. Yeah, I'll go over a little bit more about the actual Jujutsu High, but these guys are the ones who call the shots. Not necessarily the good guys, because there is no good guy, but very important. Heaven's Temple. These guys are kind of one of my main antagonist groups right now. Gabriel Ahuram, who was seen in episode 1, is their leader, and he also a member of this organization. Oda was seen in the recent episode, so go check that out if you haven't had the chance. But yeah, this is basically a modern day cult. This was actually inspired by the real life cult called Heaven's Gate. So they follow a lot of the same doctrines and themes. Next up is the NOC, Nagara Ordnance Collective. Think of these guys as Japanese Lockheed Martin on crack. And that's really, that's all you need to know. But yeah, they have a crazy in-depth history, and now they control basically all of Japan's weapon and defenses market. They go beyond that, but that's their main breadwinner. But they haven't been seen much so far. Anyhow, lastly, this is where all the students go to, Jujutsu High. It's underneath the IEJ, but they do function on their own in some sentiments. Their enrollment processes, which is important for backstory. For me, it goes between one of these three, recommended by school staff member or sorcerer above grade 3. So grade 4 sorcerers cannot be an actual reference or recommendation. They can, I guess you could say they could technically refer, but they cannot recommend for it to be put up to the board, and the board is in the IEJ. So they're the people that approve students or not. So it works a little differently than the original, original series. And the reason for that is because I wanted to kind of fill in between the gaps of what Gege left off and what made most sense to me. And I think that recommendations from actual sorcerers and school staff members, like instructors or managers, auxiliary managers or whatever, it just makes a lot of sense. Or principals even. Yeah, you also can just have a grade 3 or above sorcery skill. So if you're a grade 4, you can still go, but you have to be recommended, or you have to be tied to one of the 3 major clans as said above. You have to just have one of these 3 fulfillments met. So if you have a grade 4 skill, you weren't recommended, and you're not a part of one of the 3 major clans, you just can't go. The digits too high. Like, they just will say, no, we're good. And they'll test this grade level once you get there. So there is no, like natural skill leveling thing. It's something they test, often done by the principal or by an instructor. But this is important, very important for backstories. So it's not just like, oh, I was walking down the side of the road and somebody picked me up and now I'm in Jujutsu High. No, I think having actually in-depth backstory is important to characters. Same character formats. I didn't change these at all. I like mine and the original. Some people like that more because it's a little bit more concise. But the NPC template I use, I think looks cooler. So that's what I use. Stat things, they are the same. I added typical stat allocations because people were literally begging me for these. So this is typically what I do. It might change over the course of the campaign, but this is what it's been so far. Points are just stat points. So 1 point is equal to 1 of these. So if you have 5 stat points that are given to you because you're a first year, you could have 5 in strength, and that would be it because you spent all 5 points. But you could also divvy it up between like 2, 2, 1. So 2 charisma, 2 wisdom, 1 strength. All of that works. Keep in mind about the rule of once you reach 6 stat points in something, you now roll 2d20, one with the +5 modifier, one with the +1. But we'll go over that more. That was in the first video, but it typically confuses people. So we'll go over it again because I know that it's something that is kind of off-putting if you haven't messed with it before. Lock stats, same as before. They cannot be improved. Once you have downtime and you get stat points to do things, you cannot put it in body or soul. Other DMs and campaigns that have been run in my Discord server, they allow it. I don't think it makes sense. You can't just like you're born with certain things that cannot be improved as easily as others. And that's the point between body and soul being locked stats. It's like, if you're born with a frail body, like you'll have to figure out something to cheat your way out of that weakness. You can't just be like, well, I just train. No, you have brittle bones. You can't just do that. But I understand why people decide that that's, for them, it doesn't make sense for their campaign, because they're like, well, I don't care if it doesn't make sense or not. I think it's cooler. So either way is fine, but that's just how I like to do it. Calculating combat values has changed. Health has changed. CE has changed. DR has changed. Evasion has changed. The only thing that hasn't changed is martial attack. It's 2d4 plus strength or dex, not and or. But this is pretty self-explanatory if you've taken a basic algebra class, or if you know how to multiply and add. So I know often people say JJK readers cannot comprehend anything beyond surface level information, but I pray you guys can add at least. So understanding scale, that's about the same. I think some of these numbers have changed a little bit, but this is one of those sections, and there's a lot of sections like this, that it's not necessarily like you have to go off of this. This is just for people, mainly DMs, who are trying to figure out what numbers to put in on, enemies or allies or whatever. Death saves stay the same. Starting character roles, they've all changed, stay the same besides one. We've added one. It's called Student Scout, based off of a recommendation. So it's the same thing as Student Strategist. Yeah, it is. Same thing, except body and soul are swapped. So 2 body here, 4 soul here, 4 body here, 2 soul here. First tools, I added more information about them, how I run them, 3 weight types. Those are important because if you have an injured hand, and we're gonna go over injuries later. If you have an injured hand, and the injury is like you cannot use a weapon with this hand, that means anything that's heavy cannot be used. So that is important. Fighting paths. We have added some fighting paths, so go check that out. I'm not going to be going those in this video, but go check those out. We added some cool ones. I think we added like 3 or 4. Those are pretty dope. And then I've also updated them to include up to level 5 or level 6, something like that. So yeah, there's a lot more information on this tab. So go check it out if you get the chance. Curse techniques. Here I explain just basically what a curse technique is for people who aren't super aware of the power system of JJK. All right, next up, the Black Flash talent actually got a bit of, well, first it was added and then it got a little bit of a rework. So if you want to read about that more here, it includes what it's like to be in the zone at the bottom of the talent list, and that's going to be something we get to later in the video. But Divergent Fist was also added. God Vision was also added. Now God Vision is a completely unique thing that I added to the universe of JJK. It's essentially like, imagine the zone but for sensing cursed energy to a godlike level. And I have it in lore. I think it's about like for every 5 people who unlock Black Flash, only 1 is capable of unlocking God Vision, because it's just super rare even compared to Black Flash. But it's another thing that's really cool that I think adds a little bit more depth to the universe of Spirit Unraveled. Shikigami, they got an actual complete addition to the system, including Shikigami character sheets, rules for action economy, etc, etc. But that's down here. Anything with domains also got added on in an update, so the mechanics for that are here. But you should know a couple of important things. Force is the inner strength and defense is the outer strength. You can think of the outer strength as just resilience. So for people to invade a domain, to break it from the outside, it's a lot harder for a non-lethal than a lethal. But inside of lethal domains, the force is a grade A, or it's something that's better because it kills immediately. That's the sure hit effect. So those are some things you should be aware of. It's kind of how I classify domains in this system. But if you want to read on that here, it's at the bottom of this section. It includes domain clashes, which I won't go over too much, but domain clashes have to do with the soul, wisdom, intelligence, as well as the type of domain it is. That's something that you should be aware of if you're wanting to do anything with domains. Shikigami mechanics are all here. Here's the template that I use and that my players use. Summoning and dismissal, all the rules for that are here. It's a lot, but you kind of need a lot for summoning rules because it can get very broken very quickly if you don't. Something that I did add that's important is intelligence levels, because some Shikigami in the like manga / anime are seen to have high intelligence and some are seen to have like low intelligence. So that's something that's important. And that includes something like a vengeful curse spirit, which we'll get onto down here below. And this is like a section on just what curse spirits are, curses are. And this is the format you can use. It's kind of a broad format. I think if you're wanting to, have some really important like vengeful imaginary, curse spirit, you should probably do more than just this. But this is just sort of a starting point for people who aren't used to this system. What else? RCE hasn't been changed. Healing hasn't been changed. Cursed objects, if you want to know more about that, we have some information about that as well. Action economy hasn't changed. Most of these things haven't changed at all. Concentration was added as an important feature to make the fights feel a little more, I guess, thought out. The given parameters, none of these have changed. Some of these attributes, I think I added a couple down here, but these 3 attributes, which are the most important attributes, these 2 did change, slashing did not. Piercing changed, got nerfed a little bit. Bludgeoning got kind of nerfed, kind of buffed, depending on who you are. So if you have high body, now it does less to you, but if you have low body, it does more. Soul damage got a little bit of a nerf, actually, because we had problems with black flashes one-shotting almost everybody. So that got changed a little bit. What else? Oh, environmental hazards got added. These are just basic rules for different common hazards that you might run into. Injuries got added as well. These are very important. A lot of fighting paths use these and have a lot of enemies that can give injuries pretty quickly, but it can also just happen in a natural 1 in defense, like it says up here. And this is something that I really like. I like injury systems or injury features in systems because it makes the fight feel more thought out, I guess you could say again. It feels very in depth. Like these injuries are stopping you from fighting a certain way, whether that's a leg, arm, and eye. And so you're going to have to make up for that in different ways. So I really, really love injuries. But yeah, they go from mild to severe to critical. Mild can be ignored, but definitely debuffs you. Severe is not able to be ignored, should be taken care of ASAP. Critical is if you don't take care of this right now, you're probably going to die. So these are just things that you should be definitely aware of if you're a DM. If you're a player, you don't need to know these as much, but you should try to incorporate these into fighting paths if you're making your own. Defense stays the same. It's just going over how defense economy works. Barriers, all these different types of barriers have stayed the same. I've added rules for both simple domain and domain amplification. And yes, don't worry, I made sure to actually make them different things. So you should definitely read up on these two and not just pick simple domain or domain amplification, because both have different costs, different strengths and weaknesses. So this is something that I am trying my best to do, which is clear the blurred lines, or I guess clear the gray areas of what this does versus that in Gege's systems of power. But yeah, that's all there under barriers. Let's see here. Yeah, this is all the same. So we've added some general skills, and then we've added a new thing called rare skills. And rare skills are basically just general skills, but a lot better. And you can even classify, and I think that this is something that's going to change soon with the next update. Like simple domain, you could classify that as a rare skill versus a talent. So that's something to be aware of. But rare skills are just anything that you don't run into in the daily, like general skills, but they're still very good. Another thing that we added, gifts. These are, like it says here, the gray area between natural aptitude and hard work. A gift of power is once you reach 5 in strength, you now can upgrade your martial attack from 2d4 to 2d8. And martial attacks now do the bludgeoning damage attribute. So that's a very good buff. And most, if not all, of these gifts are all needing prerequisites of certain stat points in allocations of 5. So 5 strength, 5 dex, 5 charisma, all these different kinds of statistic areas need a certain number, and you get all kinds of different things for them. So if you're trying to min-max, which I don't like very much, you could definitely min-max based off these, because these are pretty good buffs that you just get for having a certain amount in a stat point. So if you're a min-maxer, this is going to be great for you because you get to even more control the alley of which you are getting strength. But I don't think that's a good way of playing these games. I very much adhere my players doing that, and I often punish people who only focus on tabletop power and not like role play or depth in characters. So yeah, I wouldn't typically allow something like that, but these are very good buffs. It again just makes characters and players feel like they're getting more bang for their buck. And what's wrong with that, right? Talents stay the same. We've added some specifics over Black Flash, over domain lethal, domain non-lethal, God Vision. So these are all things that you can now just go in under the talent list, see the rules, see the cost, and just copy and paste it in your own document and use them however you want. I will say domains are very broad. So when you're going to make a domain, don't think you have to follow these to a T. This is just how I typically run things. So even with my players who in the future, some will have domains, it's not like I say, oh yeah, you have to stick to this thing specifically. Because in the end, we're just trying to have fun. But that's just something to keep in mind. God Vision is very good. It also gets you in the zone. So that's something to read up on. And here are the rules for the zone. I think I have them up there, but here they are again. You get this from Black Flashes too. And both are pretty good to have. The grade system, just to help people, specifically DMs, kind of figure out how to power scale. Downtime and resting finally got added. So downtime and resting, first resting is short and long, very much like D&D. And it's just half of total HP is healed from a short one, quarter of your CE pool is healed and remove minor injuries. And then long resting is just everything's gained back and remove injury types besides something like you can't just heal an arm if you don't have RCE. So lastly is downtime. Downtime is off-screen training, I guess you could say. I usually give around 5 to 6 what I call soup dupes, and it's basically just points to spend on skills, path level, stat modifiers, or rare skills. So stat modifiers being, of course, strength, charisma, intelligence, blah, 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 blah. No lock stats. Remember, I do not allow lock stats to be a part of downtime. You usually need to get those through a break, heavenly restriction, binding bow, something other than just downtime. And yeah, that's something important to keep in mind. Rare skills underneath the gift paths cannot be unlocked during downtime. So something like Apex Predator that's under the gift of perception, I think, cannot be unlocked through downtime. And that's to basically make it to where you can't just have something that somebody else had to like really invest in perception for just by spinning 2 soup dupes. So again, we want to make sure people feel unique. We want to make sure people feel like the path they're going down is their own, and somebody else can't just come along and steal their 4th level thing because they had a couple soup dupes left over after they upgraded their strength or whatever. So yeah, that's about it. If you have any questions, again, I'm shameless. Join the Discord server. We have all these things. Anytime this is updated, the versions are updated, I post it to the Discord server immediately. We have a bunch of people there to help with character brewing, character creation. We also have a bunch of campaigns going on for people who want to join and run a campaign under the Spin Unraveled system. Or you can just hang around, talk to people. Everybody there's a bunch of chuds, but they're a bunch of lovely chuds. So that's about it. And above all, no matter where you are, I hope you have a good rest of your day.